थैंक यू मैडम। और ठीक है, क्या करेंगे?
Semangat! Jangan salam! Selamat! Cas! Cas! Semangat! Pekat! Cas! जय श्रीमान, सम्मान गार्ड, आपके टीम के लिए हाजिर है। बहुत बढ़िया। सम्मान गार्ड, सर, चल।
You are all requested to kindly be seated on your seats. I request you all to kindly take your seats.
आप सभी से अनुरोध है कि कृपया अपना सीट ग्रहण कर लें और अपने मोबाइल फोन साइलेंट मोड में कर लें। कुछ ही समय में हमारे माननीय अतिथिगण मंच पर आएंगे।
The program is about to start within a few minutes. I request you all to kindly maintain the decorum and please kindly take your seats. आप सभी से मेरा आग्रह है कि कृपया अपने अपनी सीट्स पर बैठ जाइए. I would like to request the volunteers to kindly assist
Our dignitaries are about to arrive on the
Kindly
dais.
rise.
Kindly rise. Johar and a very good morning to this August gathering. On behalf of the Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority and Department of Women, Child Development and Social Security, Government of Jharkhand, we extend a hearty welcome to our Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Vikram Nath, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman, NALSA. Our guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Ehsanuddin Amanullah, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Our special guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Mahesh Sharat Chandra Sonak, the Chief Justice, High Court of Jharkhand, cum Patron-in-Chief, Jalsa. Honorable Mr. Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, Judge, High Court of Jharkhand and Executive Chairman, Jalsa, and Mr. Uma Shankar Singh, Secretary, Department of Women, Child Development and Social Security, Government of Jharkhand.
We further extend our heartfelt welcome to all the honorable judges of High Court of Jharkhand, our exceptional speakers, esteemed guests, dignitaries, participants, stakeholders, and media to this colloquium on crime against women with special reference on issue of witch hunting and role of legal services institution in providing relief and rehabilitation to victims of crime. Being held at Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Auditorium, Jharkhand Judicial Academy, and being organized by Jharkhand State Legal Service Authority in collaboration with Department of Women, Child Development and Social Security, Government of Jharkhand. Now I would like to request my Lord, Honorable the Chief Justice, High Court of Jharkhand, to please honor and felicitate our Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Vikram Nath, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman, NALSA.
Thank you, my Lord. I would now like to request my Lord Honorable Mr. Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, Judge, High Court of Jharkhand, to please honor and felicitate our guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Ehsanuddin Amanullah, Judge, Supreme Court of India.
Thank you, my lord. Now I would like to request Sri Satya Prakash Sinha, Registrar General, High Court of Jharkhand, to please honor and felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice Mahesh Sharat Chandra Sonak, the Chief Justice, High Court of Jharkhand, cum Patron-in-Chief, Jalsa.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to request Ms. Kumari Ranjana Asthana, Member Secretary Jhalsa, to please honor and felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, Judge, High Court of Jharkhand and Executive Chairman Jhalsa.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to request Shri Abhishek Kumar, Deputy Secretary and Deputy Registrar, Jhalsa, to please honor and felicitate Mr. Uma Shankar Singh, Secretary, Department of Women and Child Development and Social Security, Government of Jharkhand.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to request Jhalsa and DLA secretaries to felicitate our honorable dignitaries sitting off the dais in the first row.
Thank you so much. Shubham karoti kalyanam arogyam dhan sampada. Shatru buddhi vinashaya deepa jyotir namostute. इसी श्लोक के साथ हम मंच पर पीठासीन हमारे माननीय अतिगण से अनुरोध करते हैं कि वे कृपया अपने कर कमलों से दीप प्रज्वलित कर कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें।
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः।
the Director Judicial Academy, the Principal District Judges come Chairman Dalsa, Principal Secretaries Government of Jharkhand, Vice Chancellor NUSRL, all judicial officers, officers of Police Department, panel lawyers and PLVs, Principal of Law Colleges and Schools, press and media. A most warm, respectful and gracious welcome to each one of you to this important and profoundly significant colloquium on crime against women, with a special emphasis on issues of witch hunting in Jharkhand and role of legal services institutions in providing relief and rehabilitation to victims of the crime. A subject that lies at the very heart of justice, human dignity, and the foundational values enshrined in our Constitution. Today's gathering is both momentous and singularly timely. It brings together a distinguished and diverse confidence of stakeholders from the judiciary, administration, and law enforcement agencies to legal services institutions, academia, and grassroots functionaries, each constituting an integral pillar of the justice delivery ecosystem. Such an assembly is far more than a mere convergence of institutions. It is a manifestation of our collective resolve and a shared consciousness that the issue before us transcends institutional confines and strikes at the very foundation of our social and constitutional order. At the very outset, it is my proud privilege to extend our deepest respect and most heartful welcome to our Honorable the Chief Guest, Justice Vikram Nath, Honorable Judge of the Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman of the National Legal Services Authority. We are profoundly grateful to His Lordship for having graciously spared His invaluable time to grace this occasion, notwithstanding the pressing and onerous responsibilities of His high constitutional office. His Lordship, in his esteemed capacity as the Honorable Executive Chairman of the National Legal Services Authority, has been a guiding force in steering and strengthening the legal services movement across the nation. Under His Lordship's visionary and progressive leadership, legal services authorities have undergone a remarkable transformation marked by a renewed purpose, institutional dynamism, and expanded outreach. His Lordship has consistently emphasized that the access to justice must transcend the realm of constitutional promise and be translated into a light and meaningful reality, particularly for the most vulnerable and marginalized section of society. The continued guidance and encouragement, and unwavering support extended by His Lordship to the state legal services authorities have proved instrumental in shaping their vision, refining their initiatives, and enhancing their overall effectiveness. Under the Lordship's stewardship, a more proactive, inclusive, and responsive framework of justice delivery has steadily evolved, attuned to the needs of the most vulnerable. His Lordship's gracious presence here today is not merely a matter of great honor, but a profound source of inspiration for all of us who are engaged in his shared mission of advancing access to justice. I also extend my respectful and warm welcome to Honorable Mr. Justice Hasanuddin Amanullah, Judge, Honorable Supreme Court of India, whose distinguished presence lends His Lordship's judicial journey has been marked by erudition, clarity of thought, and unwavering commitment to principles of justice, fairness, and constitutional propriety. Known for a nuanced and balanced approach, His Lordship has consistently upheld the rule of law while remaining deeply sensitive to the concern of the common citizens. His contributions to the development of jurisprudence, particularly in advancing access to justice and safeguarding individual rights, continue to serve as a source of inspiration to the legal fraternity. We are indeed privileged by His Lordship's presence and guidance on this important occasion. I also extend my respectful and warm welcome to Honorable the Chief Justice, Justice Mahesh Sharath Chandra Sonak, whose visionary leadership continues to significantly strengthen and enrich the justice delivery system in the state. Under His Lordship's able guidance, the institutional framework of justice has witnessed a renewed sense of purpose marked by greater efficiency, inclusivity, and responsiveness. His Lordship's profound commitment to constitutional values and keen sensitivity to the needs of common citizens have consistently inspired progressive and people-centric initiatives. His Lordship's unwavering commitment to upholding constitutional values, coupled with a deep and abiding sensitivity to the needs of the common citizen, has consistently inspired initiatives that seek to make justice more accessible, human, and meaningful. The emphasis placed by His Lordship on institutional coordination, expeditious dispensation of justice, and a citizen-centric approach has further strengthened and revitalized the role of legal service mechanism, enabling them to more effectively reach and serve the most vulnerable and marginalized section of society. His Lordship's gracious presence today is a matter of great honor and a source of deep inspiration for us. I extend my respectful and warm welcome to Honorable Judges, my esteemed sister and brother judges of the High Court of Jharkhand, whose august presence lends distinguished to this forum. Their judicial wisdom, sensitivity to justice, and commitment to constitutional values strengthen the state's justice delivery system. I extend a cordial welcome to the present state administrative heads and law enforcement officers of the state whose leadership is vital to the state administration and law enforcement. I also warmly welcome the officers of entire district judiciary of the state of Jharkhand, whose dedication at the district level underpins effective justice delivery through legal aid, lok adalas, mediation, victim compensation, and outreach. I extend a special welcome to our para legal volunteers and mediators whose grassroots efforts make justice truly accessible. I also warmly welcome representative of government department, legal literacy clubs, academic leaders, and prison officials whose collective contributions advance legal awareness, institutional coordination, and access to justice. I extend a warm welcome to the members of the media whose responsible engagement fosters awareness, transparency, and public participation in justice initiative. At this juncture, it would be both appropriate and necessary to briefly advert to the recent initiatives and noteworthy achievements of the Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority, which has consistently endeavored to make speedy, meaningful, and impactful strides in furthering the cause of access to justice across the state. Jhalsa has distinguished itself nationally by securing the first position in case disposal through National Lok Adalat in both 2024 and 2025. In December 2024, the state of Jharkhand achieved the highest disposal percentage, and in March 2025, it again led the country, excelling not only in disposal rates but also in resolving pre-litigation cases. This achievement reflects not just statistical success but a sustained institutional commitment, meticulous coordination, and collective resolve to ensure expeditious and participatory dispute resolution. The authority has also earned national recognition by securing first position in the reel making competition organized by NALSA, exemplifying innovation and creativity in advancing legal awareness and public outreach. With respect to mediation, Jhalsa has shown exemplary work with more than 160 mediators trained in the last year itself. In mediation for Nation 1.0, more than 4,800 cases were successfully settled, and the mediation for Nation 2.0, more than 2,500 cases so far have been successfully settled. In furtherance of strengthening access to justice at grassroots, Jhalsa has, with the approval of National Services Authority, established additional legal aid clinics and facilitated the deputation of 1035 paralegal volunteers across approximately one-fourth of the panchayats in the state. These initiatives marks a vital step in decentralizing legal services and extending them to remove and under-reserved areas. Notable progress has been achieved in the domain of legal awareness through the meaningful expansion of legal literacy clubs. Moving beyond the confines of government institutions, Jhalsa has proactively engaged private educational establishments with legal literacy clubs being instituted across all DAV schools in the Jharkhand. The state of Jharkhand stands among the leading jurisdiction in implementing the legal aid defense council system, with fully functional offices established across all districts, equipped with infrastructure, legal resources, and advanced software. These centers provide holistic assistance covering remand representation, retainer services, and structured jail visits, ensuring legal aid is timely, effective, and meaningful. Further, pursuant to the directions of the National Legal Services Authority, mobile legal aid vans have been procured for all 24 districts of the state and are being extensively deployed for outreach, awareness generation, and delivery of legal services, particularly in remote, rural, and under-reserved areas. Further, in consonance with the All India meets convened by National Legal Services Authority, Jhalsa has institutionalized state-level meetings of the district legal services authorities, thereby creating a structured platform for periodic review, coordination, and policy alignment. The most recent meet held from 28th February to 1st March witnessed the active participation of all key stakeholders, including members of the district judiciary, senior administrative and police officials, prison authorities, and representatives of various government departments and civil society organizations. Together, these initiatives reflect Jhalsa's sustained commitment to building a justice delivery system that is proactive, inclusive, and responsive, ensuring that the benefits of justice are not merely theoretical, but equitably accessible and meaningful for all. As regards today's program, the deliberations in this colloquium have been thoughtfully and meticulously structured through three focused technical sessions, each addressing a distinct eight interrelated dimensions of the issue under consideration. The architecture of these sessions reflects a conscious and considered effort to adopt a holistic, multidisciplinary, and solution oriented approach, recognizing that the problem of crimes against women, particularly in manifestation such as witch hunting, cannot be effectively addressed through isolated or fragmented interventions, but necessitates a coordinated, comprehensive, and sustained response across legal, institutional, and societal domains. In this regard, it is important to mention about Project Suraksha of the Jharkhand State Legal Services Authorities, which is an initiative aimed at addressing the grave social evil of witch hunting and supporting its victims, particularly in rural and tribal areas. It seeks to create awareness about the illegality and harmful impact of such practices while ensuring immediate legal aid, medical assistance, and psychological counseling to survivors. The project also facilitates access to compensation under relevant schemes and promotes rehabilitation by linking victims with welfare measures of the state and central government. Here it is equally important to mention about the project Bal Suraksha. It aims to safeguard children from exploitation, trafficking, child labor, and abuse through legal awareness and intervention. The project aims for recover and rehabilitation of missing children in Jharkhand. With this background in place, we now turn to the introductory sessions, which will provide a deeper insight into the framework and on-ground functioning for this colloquium. The first session will examine the legal and judicial framework on crimes against women, focusing on challenges in investigation, prosecution, and adjudication. It will deliberate on the adequacy of existing provisions, the need for consistency and sensitivity in the judicial processes, and the importance of a victim-centering approach ensuring dignity, protection, and timely justice. The session aims to identify gaps, explore best practices, and consider judicial innovation to strengthen the justice delivery system. The second session will focus on institutional and enforcement mechanism, highlighting the need for coordination among the police, district administration, and legal services institution. It will address field level challenges, implementation issues, and the importance of building a responsive and accountable system. The session will deliberate on strengthening inter-agency coordination, streamlining procedure, and enhancing capacity building to ensure efficiency, sensitivity, and a victim responsive framework. The third session will address prevention, rehabilitation, and community engagement as key to sustainable solutions. It will deliberate on strategies for awareness, victim support, and rehabilitation while tackling socio-cultural factors such as superstitions, stigma, and marginalization. Emphasis will be placed on community participation, grassroots institutions, and continuous outreach to foster attitudinal and behavioral change. Taken together, these sessions are intended to facilitate a comprehensive, informed, and meaningful dialogue, enabling the exchange of perspectives, identification of gaps, and formulation of practical and actionable strategies. It is hoped that the outcome of this colloquium will inform policy, guide institutional practices, and foster sustained collaboration among stakeholders. Untimely, ultimately, these deliberations should serve as a catalyst for long-term systematic change, reinforcing our collective commitment to a more just, equitable, and secure society. Let this deliberation serve not merely as an exchange of ideas, but as a catalyst for meaningful, coordinated, and enduring actions in the pursuit of justice. On behalf of Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority, I once again extend a heartfelt welcome to Honorable the Chief Guest, Honorable the Judge of Supreme Court of India, Honorable the Chief Justice, esteemed dignitaries, and all participants. We are deeply honored by your presence. With these words, I welcome you all and wish the deliberations of this colloquium great success. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, my lord, for your welcome address and for setting the tone of this colloquium by emphasizing on the ongoing and the future need of collaboration between the stakeholders of society for increasing access to justice and making the society a better place. इसी के साथ हम कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए झालसा का कोई भी कार्यक्रम नालसा गीत के बिना पूरा नहीं हो सकता। भारत में कानूनी सेवा प्राधिकरण की भावना को इसमें खूबसूरती से समाहित किया गया है। लोगों के बीच पहुंच बढ़ाने के लिए झालसा द्वारा इसी गीत का अनुवाद 8 भाषाओं में किया गया है। आज हम इस गीत को हिंदी और नागपुरी संस्करण बजाएंगे।
लाचारों को न्याय मिलेगा, दुखियारों
भाषा जो रांची में प्रचलित है उसमें झालसा सॉन्ग को बजाया जाए।
में निस्तारित किया है। यह केवल एक आंकड़ा ही नहीं बल्कि त्वरित, सुलभ और प्रभावी न्याय व्यवस्था के प्रति हमारी प्रतिबद्धता का सशक्त प्रमाण है। झारखंड राज्य विधिक सेवा प्राधिकरण समय समय पर जन कल्याण हेतु अनेक कार्यक्रम और गतिविधियां संचालित करता रहता है, जिनका उद्देश्य समाज के प्रत्येक वर्ग, विशेषकर कमजोर वर्गों तक न्याय और सहायता पहुंचाना है। इन्हीं सभी प्रयासों की एक छोटी सी झलक आपको एक वीडियो के माध्यम से देखने को मिलेगी। इसी के साथ हम आपके समक्ष ये एक संक्षिप्त तथा प्रेरणादायक वीडियो प्रस्तुत करते हैं।
The Constitution of India affirms that justice is a right, not a privilege. To uphold this vision, the National Legal Services Authority, or NALSA, was established under the patronage of Honorable Chief Justice of India, ensuring access to justice for every citizen. At the helm of this transformative legal aid mission stands Honorable Justice Vikram Nath, Judge Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman NALSA, whose visionary leadership and unwavering commitment have strengthened the legal aid framework across the country, turning it into a powerful instrument of social justice. Under the guidance of Honorable Executive Chairman NALSA, legal services in India have witnessed a phase of remarkable acceleration, refinement and effective implementation. During his lordship's tenure, several key initiatives and flagship schemes of the NALSA have not only expanded in reach, but have implemented with greater efficiency, coordination and impact across the nation. In Jharkhand, this vision takes shape on the ground through the Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority, or JHALSA, functioning under the patronage of Honorable Chief Justice of High Court of Jharkhand and guided by Honorable Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, Judge High Court of Jharkhand and Executive Chairman JHALSA.
हमारा आपसे नम्र निवेदन है कि जितना भी स्कीम है, अगर आप दूर दराज एरिया में रहते हैं, हमारे सारे दूर दराज एरिया में पैरालीगल वॉलंटियर्स हैं, वो आपको मदद करेंगे, आपको स्कीम के बारे में बताएंगे। कोई जानकारी नहीं है, आप उनसे लें, वो आपको प्रशासन के पास ले जाएंगे और जो भी सरकार का स्कीम है उसका लाभ लें।
JHALSA has taken significant steps in addressing crimes against women, particularly in regions affected by witch hunting and social violence, like Dumka and Gumla, through initiatives such as Project Suraksha and Project Sahyog. It focuses on prevention, victim support and community awareness. Temporary legal aid clinics in the Gumla district. JHALSA's exceptional performance in National Lok Adalats, with NALSA recognizing it for achieving remarkable disposal rates of 99.49% in the 4th National Lok Adalat 2024, 99.95% in the 1st National Lok Adalat 2025, and also in National Lok Adalat, thereafter held further 99.99% in the 1st Lok Adalat 2026, recently held in the last month, making Jharkhand's presence amongst the top performing states in the country. JHALSA has also been recognized for its strong performance in legal aid delivery and the disposal of criminal cases under LADCS during 2024-25 and 25-26, as well as providing benefits to the marginalized during legal services cum empowerment camp, placing Jharkhand amongst the top performing states in the country. Under the guidance of Honorable Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, JHALSA has increased its strength through its High Court Legal Services Committee, 24 District Legal Services Authorities, and 6 Subdivisional Legal Services Committees. They are effectively translating NALSA's vision into action across the state, making legal services accessible, inclusive, and empowering. With a strong network of 1,438 legal aid clinics, 989 trained mediators, 4,487 paralegal volunteers, including 2,202 actively deployed and 134 legal aid defense counsels. Jhalsa ensures justice reaches every corner. Together, Nalsa and Jhalsa are not merely implementing legal frameworks, they are resonating dignity, empowering women, and strengthening faith in justice. Because justice is not only about law, it is about safety, dignity, and voice, and ensuring that every woman, no matter where she is heard. Today, justice is not confined to courtrooms. It reaches doorsteps and transforms lives. Nalsa, ensuring justice for all. Nyay, sabke liye.
कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए सभी के लिए न्याय विधिक सेवा प्राधिकार का नारा है और उसी भावना को जीवित रखते हुए माननीय श्री न्यायमूर्ति श्री सुजीत नारायण प्रसाद के मार्गदर्शन में पश्चिम सिंहभूम के चक्रधरपुर उपखंड में एक उप विभाग क्षेत्र में आदिवासी समुदायों का प्रभुत्व है और उप विभागीय कानूनी सेवा समिति के खुलने से यह सुनिश्चित होगा कि कोई भी विधिक सहायता से दूर ना रहे. I now request our Honorable Chief Guest to virtually inaugurate the Subdivisional Legal Services Committee at Chakradharpur, West Singhbhum.
With the vision of access to justice for all, the Subdivisional Legal Services Committee, Chakradharpur, West Singhbhum, Jharkhand, presents its newly developed modern office, an initiative under the guidance of Honorable Mr. Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, Judge High Court of Jharkhand and Executive Chairman, Jhalsa. Spread across 3,534 square feet, the facility is designed for efficient functioning and public convenience. The premises include a front office, main office, secretary's chamber, 2 dedicated mediation rooms, and a spacious waiting area. All spaces are fully equipped with essential infrastructure, ensuring smooth and effective operations, supported by high-speed Wi-Fi connectivity. Visitors can also access legal awareness resources, including pamphlets, library books, and television facilities. This modern office stands as an accessible and efficient center, strengthening the delivery of legal services to the community. Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority, Jhalsa.
Thank you, my lords. जैसा मंडलों में मासिक लोक अदालत का आयोजन होता है और आज नालसा के नेतृत्व में झारखंड में एनआई एक्ट के मामलों पर एक विशेष लोक अदालत का आज नालसा के नेतृत्व में झारखंड में एनआई एक्ट के मामलों पर एक विशेष लोक अदालत का सभी जिलों में आयोजन किया गया है, जिसमें अब तक 11,169 मामलों को रेफर किया जा चुका है, जिनमें से कुल 721 मामले प्री लिटिगेशन सिटिंग्स में निष्पादित भी किए जा चुके हैं. हम उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि इस लोक अदालत के अंत तक लगभग 10% एनआई के मामलों का निष्पादन भी हो जाएगा और हम अब अपने सम्मानित अतिथिगण से अनुरोध करेंगे कि वे इस विशेष लोक अदालत का वस्तुतः उद्घाटन करें.
कार्यक्रम के कार्यक्रम के इस महत्वपूर्ण चरण में हमें ये बताते हुए अत्यंत हर्ष और गर्व का अनुभव हो रहा है कि झारखंड राज्य विधिक सेवा प्राधिकरण द्वारा तैयार की गई इस विशेष न्यूज़लेटर का आज विमोचन किया जाना है। ये न्यूज़लेटर वर्ष 2025 से 26 के दौरान किए गए विभिन्न जन कल्याणकारी प्रयासों, नवचारों और प्रभावशाली पहलों का एक संजीव दस्तावेज है, जो न्याय को समाज के अंतिम व्यक्ति तक पहुंचाने के सतत प्रयासों को दर्शाता है। ये केवल एक प्रकाशन नहीं, बल्कि सेवा, जागरूकता और न्याय के प्रति हमारी प्रतिबद्धता का प्रतीक है। Now we request the honorable dignitaries on the dais to kindly release the newsletter. Thank you, my lords. कार्यक्रम के इस चरण में झारखंड राज्य विधिक सेवा प्राधिकरण द्वारा एक अत्याधुनिक चैट बॉट का शुभारंभ किया जा रहा है। इस चैट बॉट के माध्यम से अब आम जन को जानकारी प्राप्त करने के लिए विभिन्न पोर्टलों या कार्यालयों के चक्कर लगाने की आवश्यकता नहीं होगी। विधिक सेवाओं, योजनाओं, अधिकारों एवं सहायता से संबंधित आवश्यक जानकारी एक ही स्थान पर सहज और तुरंत उपलब्ध होगी। I now request our honorable chief guest to kindly launch the chatbot.
JHALSA, the Legal Services Authority of Jharkhand, ensuring justice reaches every citizen. And today, marking a new milestone, JHALSA inaugurates its chatbot on the official website, a smart, responsive way to get answers instantly. With the JHALSA chatbot, users no longer need to navigate through multiple pages or wait for assistance. They can simply ask their questions and receive accurate, real-time guidance anytime, anywhere. Chatbot UI and question. Question 1. What is free legal aid? Answer. Question 2. What is the objective of Lok Adalat? Answer. Question 3. What are the benefits of mediation and how is it done? Answer. JHALSA chatbot, making access to justice simpler than ever. Access to justice made simple.
थैंक यू माय लॉर्ड। कार्यक्रम के इस महत्वपूर्ण चरण में झारखंड राज्य विधिक सेवा प्राधिकरण द्वारा 90 दिवसीय विधिक जागरूकता एवं पहुंच कार्यक्रम का भी शुभारंभ आज किया जाएगा। यह अभियान केवल एक कार्यक्रम नहीं, बल्कि न्याय को समाज के अंतिम व्यक्ति तक पहुंचाने के हमारे संकल्प का सशक्त प्रतीक है, जिसका उद्देश्य है विधिक जागरूकता को जन जन तक पहुंचाना, विशेष रूप से उन कमजोर एवं वंचित वर्गों तक जो अक्सर अपने अधिकारों से अनभिज्ञ रह जाते हैं। इस अभियान के अंतर्गत पूरे झारखंड में प्रत्येक जिला विधिक सेवा प्राधिकरण प्रतिदिन विभिन्न जन जागरूकता गतिविधियां संचालित करेगा, जैसे नुक्कड़ नाटक, लघु फिल्में, प्रतियोगिताएं, विधिक साक्षरता कक्षाएं इत्यादि। राज्यव्यापी प्रभात फेरियों के माध्यम से अभियान की शुरुआत होगी, जिसके बाद गांव-गांव और घर-घर जाकर विधिक जागरूकता अभियान भी चलाया जाएगा। विधिक सेवा सह सशक्तिकरण शिविर भी आयोजित किए जाएंगे। साथ ही जेलों, प्रेक्षण गृहों एवं अन्य संस्थागत स्थलों का नियमित दौरा कर बंदियों से व्यक्तिगत संवाद भी स्थापित किया जाएगा, जिनकी समस्याओं को पहचान कर उन्हें विधिक सहायता प्रदान की जाएगी। विशेष रूप से अंडर ट्रायल प्रिजनर्स, जमानत प्राप्त होने के बावजूद निरुद्ध व्यक्ति, महिलाओं एवं बच्चों के मामलों पर भी ध्यान दिया जाएगा। इसी उद्देश्य के साथ आज इस 90 दिवसीय जागरूकता एवं पहुंच कार्यक्रम का भी शुभारंभ किया जा रहा है।
Thank you, my lord. Moving forward with the program, may I now humbly request Honorable Mr. Justice Mahesh Sharat Chandra Sonak, the Chief Justice, High Court of Jharkhand, Compatron-in-Chief JHALSA, to kindly deliver the special address.
Honorable Mr. Justice Vikram Nath, Judge Supreme Court of India and the Executive Chairperson of NALSA, Honorable Mr. Justice Ahsan bin Amanullah, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad, Judge High Court of Jharkhand and the Executive Chairperson of Jhalsa, Honorable Sister and Brother Judges of the High Court of Jharkhand, Learned Advocate General, State of Jharkhand, learned members of the bar, senior officers of the state government and police administration, Registrar General, members of the registry, members of the district judiciary, all judicial officers, administrative officers, police officers, distinguished guests, member secretary and officers of Jhalsa, representatives of NALSA, law students, ladies and gentlemen. I am very honored to extend a warm welcome to all of you for today's colloquium on a subject which is very important to the state of Jharkhand and other states in the tribal heartland of India and in general to our country. This is a laudable and timely initiative, and I thank the joint organizers for this and you all for honoring this invitation and being here today. Though we have achieved much in the last 77 years since we got our independence from foreign subjugation, we still have the proverbial miles to go before we can sleep over the issue of violence against women. We still witness a clear contradiction in India. Our traditions often speak of women with great respect, at times placing them on a high pedestal. Yet alongside this, there persists a reality of violence and discrimination in everyday life. This kind of violence mostly does not have any race, religion, or nationality, but it does have a gender. The gap between this ideal and lived experience of women is not merely a legal concern, it raises serious questions about social conscience. Certain forms of violence are directed at women precisely because they are women. Such acts are rooted in long-standing social structures and patterns of control, the effects of which unfortunately are still visible today. A society that fails to ensure safety and dignity for women, who are central to the preservation of its values and culture, weakens its own moral foundation. It is against this background that we must understand and appreciate individuals' resilience. As Maya Angelou once said, each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all the women. It is precisely this act of assertion that in certain parts of our society invites a severe backlash. Today we gather to confront a deeply disturbing reality. When a woman stands up for herself, whether to claim her ancestral land or to assert her independence, she is not supported, but she is often branded. In such cases, the label of witchcraft becomes a weaponized superstition, a tool of violence used to settle scores, seize property, and dispossess the vulnerable. It is deeply concerning that this state continues to face the serious issue of witch hunting. This reflects the reality that progress in law is often met with persistent social resistance. This resistance is a part of a longer narrative. From the abolition of sati to the Dowry Prohibition Act and post-Nirbhaya reforms, our statute books have grown stronger. With the recent enactment of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, offences against women now take precedence in our criminal code, marking truly a Nyaya-centric approach. But enacting a law and not faithfully implementing it is often worse than not enacting it at all. Such an attitude breeds disrespect for the law. Such an approach strengthens the perpetrators of the crime against women. To meet these challenges, as the Legal Services Authority, we must move from reactive responders to proactive guardians. We must ensure that our institutions are as agile as the technology and as resilient as the women whom we seek to protect. For our institutions to grow, respond, and prosper, we need leaders who can truly steer them and show us the path forward. It is our great fortune today that we have two distinguished legal minds and true humane leaders who have shown us how we can confront these challenges and make cherished constitutional dream a reality. In Honorable Mr. Justice Vikram Nath, the Judge of the Supreme Court and the Executive Chairperson of NALSA, we have a jurist who has pioneered a vision of justice that moves beyond the courtrooms. As the head of the National Legal Services institutions, His Lordship is guiding their work with clarity and purpose and taking these institutions to new heights in ensuring meaningful access to justice. As His Lordship profoundly emphasized at the national conference held in Hyderabad last year, victim compensation, though necessary, is by itself insufficient. He underscored that rehabilitation must be holistic, extending beyond monetary relief to include education, counseling, and community care. These words resonate deeply in our theme today. Justice cannot merely mean punishment. It must encompass healing, restoration, and hope of a future unmarred by the past. For a woman branded as a witch, this means that law must not only punish her attackers, but restore her social standing, her dignity, and her sense of self. We are also honored by the presence of Honorable Mr. Justice Ahsanuddin Amanullah, whose distinguished service in the legal aid reflects the consistent commitment of access to justice. During his lordship's tenure in Bihar and Andhra Pradesh, particularly as executive chairperson of the respective state legal services authorities, his lordship has helped strengthen the reach of legal institutions and ensure that their benefits extend to the most vulnerable sections of the society. His judicial approach reflects balance and sensitivity, especially in matters concerning women, children, and other marginalized groups. Today, it is heartening to see the confluence of key stakeholders in this room: the government, the police, the judiciary. These are institutions that can and must address the menace of gender discrimination and witch hunting holistically. No single institution can dismantle the architecture of superstition and gender discrimination alone. While the court may deliver its verdict, the legislature, it is the legislature that must, through its legislation, reflect the critical measures to address these burning issues and provide infrastructure for safety. The executive, through its police machinery, must provide the assurance of protection. Therefore, we must work together. We must take the victims into confidence. We must assure them that the fault is certainly not theirs, but it lies with some vagrants, some deviants, and societal practices and the attitudes that plague all of us. We must walk the talk with these unfortunate victims. The vision expressed so eloquently by Honorable Justice Vikram Nath for healing, restoration, and hope of a future unmarred by the past assumes critical importance at this juncture. We must therefore resolve to be the bridge between the vision proposed by the Honorable Supreme Court and our two leading personalities who are present with us here today, and the rugged realities of our tribal heartlands. This is not, as in fact my brother said, just a meeting of minds. It is a launchpad for action. These are real steps towards bringing the law closer to the people. It is in this spirit that today's colloquium is predicated. The magnitude of this task must not deter us. Just as one violent man can do a lot of damage, one strong woman can do a lot of good to redeem the situation, not just for her self-worth, but by her example to restore the dignity and self-worth of the womankind. As a society, as a legal institution, we must support such a strong woman. It is only when a woman who has been branded finds her voice through the strength of the law and the support of her community, that we can truly say that we have moved from the darkness of superstition to the light of justice. Asatoma Sadgamaya. Let us move today from simply reacting to crimes to building a system that prevents them. Let us resolve to make our institutional machinery as resilient as the women it seeks to protect, so that in our country, no woman ever has to live in the shadow of fear again. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, my lord, for pointing out the stark differences that exist in a society where, at one hand, women are worshipped as goddesses and on the other hand, they are hunted down as witches. This stark contradiction calls for a collective resolve to uphold dignity for every woman, both in letter and spirit. Thank you, my lord. Now, may I humbly request our guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Ehsanuddin Amanullah, Judge, Supreme Court of India, who has championed the cause of legal aid and access to justice, especially to women, to kindly deliver the keynote address.
Namaskar, good morning, Sat Sri Akal, Assalamu alaikum. My esteemed Honorable Justice Vikram Nath, Judge Supreme Court of India, Executive Chairman, National Legal Services Authority, who's also a true brother in the sense that he's always guided me in times when I need guidance, and a mentor in that sort for me. Honorable the Chief Justice of this court, Justice Mahesh Sonak, Brother Justice Sujit Narayan, Judge Jharkhand High Court, Executive Chairman, Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority, my sister and brother judges of the Jharkhand High Court, the learned Advocate General of this court, the officers, the resource persons, the Vice Chancellor of the National Law University, Ranchi, officers, state councils, members of the registry, members from the administration, resource persons, and members of the audience and the media. It is a great feeling to be here amongst you after quite a long gap, and especially on this occasion when I'm sharing the dais with Honorable Justice Vikram Nath, because the bond he has and the commitment it reflects, it's an honor and privilege for me to be part of it. There'll be a lot of takes from even casual remarks which he makes, so you have to be really very attentive to imbibe, because a lot of things are communicated which has to be just imbibed and understood in their true sense. And I'm also waiting to hear from him. The issue before us lies at the intersection of the constitutional framework, human dignity, and the integrity of justice deliveries amidst the backdrop of the troubling phenomenon of witch hunting. The Constitution is not a mere legal charter, but a transformative document intended to reorder social relations and secure justice for the oppressed. Articles 14 and 15 guarantee equality before the law and prohibit discrimination on grounds including sex. Article 17 abolishes untouchability in all its forms, and Article 21 secures the right to life and personal liberty, which has been judicially interpreted to include the right to live with dignity, autonomy, and security. Moving ahead, Article 39 A mandates the state to ensure equal justice and provide free legal aid so that opportunities for securing justice are not denied by reason of economic or other disabilities. These provisions ought not to just remain on paper. The persistence of witch hunting reveals that the journey from formal equality to real equality is still a work in progress. Such practices are not isolated incidents linked to superstitions per se. They are a form of violence embedded within socio-cultural hierarchies as a mechanism of control and compliance. Witchcraft incidents are linked to disputes over land, inheritance, or social authority. Branding a woman as a witch becomes a socially sanctioned method of dispossession, combining stigma with violence. Former Attorney General Setalwad had observed in his Hamlin lecture series that even the colonial courts encountered cases where violence was sought to be justified under witchcraft allegations. This brings to the fore the tension between formal legal norms and entrenched social beliefs. The law can prohibit violence, but social legitimacy may still sustain it. The Supreme Court in Aparna Bhatt vs. State of Madhya Pradesh, 2021, 3 SCC 247, acknowledged this broader phenomenon in the context of gender-based violence. It was observed that such violence is often shrouded in silence due to entrenched unequal power relations, social stigma, and economic dependence, and that the actual incidence of such crimes is likely to have far higher than reported figures. This observation is particularly relevant in the context of witch hunting, where the act of reporting itself may invite further victimization. Witch hunting, by its very nature, is not only a criminal offense, but a constitutional violation which hits at the very dignity of the individual. Contemporary studies by the National Geographic Society and the United Nations Human Rights Council indicate that witch hunting is not confined to India, but occurs in various parts of the world, often in regions characterized by social and economic deprivation. Hence, only once it is seen as a systemic problem can true steps be taken to address the matter. In Manubhai Pragya Vaishi versus State, the court emphasized the state's duty to ensure access to justice, and in Anita Kushwaha, the court held access to justice to be a fundamental right. The task is twofold. First, to ensure that the existing legal framework is effectively implemented to address such crimes, and secondly, to develop institutional mechanisms that respond to the unique challenges posed by practices such as witch hunting. The statutory framework is both general and specific. At the state level, the Jharkhand Witchcraft Prevention and Practice Act 2001 criminalizes the identification and prosecution of individuals as witches, and it is gender neutral. However, the limitations of this legislation, particularly in terms of enforcement and conviction rates, necessitate reliance on other legal regimes. The Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 assumes considerable significance. Witch hunting disproportionately affects tribal women, and the acts associated with such practices, public humiliation, dispossession, and violence, fall squarely within the ambit of Section 3 of the said Act. Section 15A of the Act further recognizes the rights of victims and witnesses, including protection, rehabilitation, and access to justice. In Prithviraj Chauhan, the Supreme Court has reaffirmed the importance of this legislation in addressing structural discrimination to ensure substantive equality. Witch hunting is rarely an individual act. It is often carried out by groups, sometimes with tacit or explicit community approval. This brings us within the category of mob violence. In Tehseen Poonawalla, 2018 9 SCC 501, the Supreme Court characterized mob lynching as an affront to the rule of law and issued detailed guidelines for its prevention. In Patan Jamal Wali, the state of Andhra Pradesh, the court recognized the relevance of intersectionality in understanding the experience of victims hailing from marginalized communities. The court observed that discrimination is often compounded when multiple vulnerabilities intersect. Section 357A of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, now reflected in Section 396 of the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023, mandates the establishment of victim compensation schemes by the court. The legislative intent is clear. Victims of crime are entitled to financial assistance to enable their rehabilitation. This is not contingent upon the outcome of the trial alone. It is grounded in the recognition that harm suffered by the victim requires immediate and sustained response, as laid down in Suresh versus State of Haryana 2015 SCC 227. Besides the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1976, and Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against women 1979 imposed a duty upon states to protect individuals from violence and discrimination. The National Legal Services Authority also launched a protection and enforcement of tribal rights scheme in 2015 and a compensation scheme for women victims, survivors of sexual assault and other crimes in 2018. The Protection and Enforcement of Tribal Rights Scheme 2015 provides an important framework in this regard. It recognizes that tribal communities face unique vulnerabilities arising from geographical isolation, socio-economic disadvantage, and limited engagement with formal institutions. It seeks to bridge the gap through a combination of legal awareness, community engagement, and institutional support. A key feature is deployment of paralegal volunteers drawn from within the community. These volunteers serve as critical intermediaries between the legal system and the marginalized populations. Their role extends beyond dissemination of information. They first become responders, identify instances of vulnerability, report incidents, and facilitate access to legal remedies. In the context of witch hunting, their presence is particularly valuable. Accusations of witchcraft are often preceded by rumors, social tension, and patterns of exclusion. Early identification of such indicators can help prevent and timely intervention by the concerned authorities. Similarly, district legal services authorities must be proactive. This includes the immediate registration of FIRs, facilitating access to compensation, and providing legal assistance at every stage. They must ensure that the victims are not left to navigate the system on their own. Assistance in documentation, filing application, and follow-up with authorities must form part of their core and regular functioning. The question of rehabilitation must be addressed next. Victims of witch hunting suffer profound psychological trauma. The experience of being publicly humiliated, ostracized, and subject to violence by one's own community has long-lasting effects on mental health and can cause post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. Mental health support still remains a neglected aspect. Legal services authorities can consider coordinating with health departments and mental health professionals for counseling and psychological support. This would require institutional linkages and sensitization of stakeholders. Coming to a close, the issue of social reintegration crops up. Victims who have been ostracized often face difficulties in returning to their communities. In some cases, return may not be possible or safe. Alternative arrangements for housing, livelihood, and education may be required. The development of scientific temper, as envisaged under Article 51, capital A, small h of the Constitution, must be translated into practice. Ultimately, challenge is not of law enforcement, but of institutional design and social transformation. Witch hunting represents the convergence of multiple failures: failure of awareness, failure of access, and failure of protection. Addressing it requires an equally multi-dimensional strategy. Judges, in their role as guardians of constitutional values, must continue to interpret the law in a manner that advances dignity and equality. Legal services institutions must act as the first line of support for victims, ensuring that justice is neither delayed nor denied. Administrative authorities must ensure effective implementation of laws and schemes, and society at large must confront and reject practices that undermine the humanity of its members. Only when the most vulnerable can access justice without fear, reclaim their rights without resistance, and find dignity without compromise can we say that the promise of the Constitution has been fulfilled in its truest sense. A few words with the permission of the chair, which just came to my mind here, and I would like to share it with the audience. And I hope most of you are conversant with Hindi, so now I'll like to just connect with you in, through Hindi. And advise the National Executive Vice Chairman of NALSA and the state ये मंच पे हैं. My experience in Andhra Pradesh was very different, and Andhra Pradesh was considered to be a success when I went and took over. You know the difference, और मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि हम judges involved हैं, तो जैसे हर एक संस्थान का जो मुखिया होता है उसकी पहली जिम्मेदारी अपने परिवार पे होती है. I would request the NALSA as well as the State Legal Service Authority to concentrate more on the pending cases, because that is what is actually required. Pre-litigation is only a figure. For me, real success would be how much you achieve in pending cases. If cases which can be done in pre-litigation, जो सल्टाए जा सकते हैं, वो तो बाद में भी सल्टाए जाएंगे because they have the capacity. But if you are really involving the judiciary, so let us concentrate more on what is pending, what is boggling the system. This is ये एक मेथड आया था कि कैसे जुडिशरी पर प्रेशर कम हो और मैटर्स सुलझ जाए बिना एक न्यायिक प्रक्रिया के. So that is one of my request. Really, both of them are together here. The Honorable the Chief Justice of this court is also here. Another thing is that हम लोग इसे सिर्फ एक सोशल स्टिग्मा और फायर फाइटिंग करते हैं. हमारा अभी भी एफर्ट, रियल एफर्ट towards eradication of this belief that due to witchcraft some evils occur either in the person's life, व्यक्तिगत या कम्युनिटी पर एक हार मारा है चूंकि कुछ विचक्राफ्ट हुआ है which has been defined. ये मानसिकता अभी तक probably हम लोग ने उस राइट अप्रोच से और इस डायरेक्शन से नहीं की है जिसकी जरूरत है, बिकॉज फायर फाइटिंग आप नहीं कर सकते हैं unless the whole community is convinced itself कि ये हमारी धारणा गलत है, हमारी सोच गलत है. इसके लिए एटीट्यूड जरूरी है. और लास्टली, बिफोर आई कंक्लूड, there is a request to Honorable the Chief Justice and Jalsa that whenever you post people in District Legal Services Authority or you choose PLVs, go for a background check, in the sense, take their consent, people who are committed to the cause. This is very different from judicial work. आपको मिल जाएंगे लोग जो चाहते हैं ये सब काम करना, they want to help the society, but हम अपने तरह से सोचते हैं कि ये आदमी ठीक है और उसको पोस्ट हम कर देते हैं. One of the best judicial officers may be a failure in the legal services because it is a very different type of a nature, the approach. PLVs may be choose somebody who is actually living at the spot in the villages, because they are your army on the ground and they are the most neglected in the sense कि उनका utilization है ही नहीं है. Almost 5 to 10% of their ability, क्षमता हम utilize करते हैं. उनको करिए और पोस्टिंग में अगर आपने सही आदमी को सही जगह पर रख दिया, I think more than 50% of your job itself is done. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, my Lord, for your heartfelt insights and suggestions, which will prove worthy in our endeavors in increasing and promoting access to justice.
कार्यक्रम के इस भाग में हम हमारे बीच उपस्थित पीड़िताओं और लाभुकों को क्षतिपूर्ति धनराशि एवं अन्य लाभों के वितरण का कार्यक्रम संपन्न करेंगे, परंतु उससे पहले हम आप सभी के साथ कुछ साझा करना चाहते हैं. झारखंड के कई क्षेत्रों में आज भी डायन बिसाही जैसी कुप्रथाएं गहरी जड़ें जमाए हुए हैं. इसी संदर्भ में हम आपको झारखंड के सिमडेगा जिले की एक मार्मिक और प्रेरणादायक कहानी से अवगत कराना चाहते हैं. यह कहानी है झरियो देवी की. अंधविश्वास के कारण उन्हें डायन कहकर जीवित जलाने का प्रयास किया गया, परंतु उन्होंने हार नहीं मानी और अपने अदम्य साहस के बल पर उन्होंने न केवल मृत्यु को मात दी बल्कि अपने जीवन को एक नई दिशा दी. आज वे अन्य पीड़ित महिलाओं के लिए भी प्रेरणा का एक स्रोत है. इस कहानी को दर्शाता हुआ झालसा द्वारा बनाया गया एक संक्षिप्त वीडियो हम आप सभी के सामने प्रस्तुत करना चाहते हैं.
अंधविश्वास का अंधेरा जाती है, फिर भी ये अंधेरा कुछ परिवारों को अपनी गिरफ्त में ले ही लेता है. ऐसा ही एक परिवार है झरियो देवी का, जो सिमडेगा जिले के ठेटई टांगर थाना अंतर्गत कुड़पानी दीपा टोली गांव के इस घर में रहती है. इनका जीवन हंसी खुशी चल रहा था कि तभी जनवरी 2022 की 12 तारीख को अंधविश्वास का ये तूफान आ गया.
मेरे गाना का दुख रहे कि कारे से के तो नियो करे समरलक और हमके जाय रही खाने फलो घरे जाय रही दियो जन हमें काम करिया और मारला पीटला मके मार के बुढ़ा को मारला बगाले थार मके मार गिराय ले नहीं अरे बोरा भीज नहीं और माटी तेल के निकला नहीं और माचे से खर नहीं दुई बेर ले मेरे नाम तो का दुख में मुझे से खन जाना था, लेकिन हम उमन करता दिखता हमका डाइन के मन करना.
और तब आरंभ हुई उनको सुरक्षा देने की पहल। जिला विधिक सेवा प्राधिकार सिमडेगा के पहल पर उनसे आवश्यक आवेदन लिए गए। तत्काल दोनों का इलाज अस्पताल में करवाया गया। अभियुक्तों की गिरफ्तारी कर कानूनी कार्रवाई आरंभ की गई।
मेरी मम्मी को बहुत बड़ा हादसा हुआ था, तो हमने हॉस्पिटल ले गया था, सिमडेगा हॉस्पिटल में। तो हमारे डालसा सिमडेगा के सहयोग सब बहुत बड़ा हमको हेल्प किया और मम्मी को बचाने के लिए रांची देवकमल हॉस्पिटल भेज दिया और बहुत अच्छा डॉक्टर को दिखाने के लिए सहयोग किया और अभी मम्मी बच गई।
इलाज के लिए अविलंब 15,000 रुपए पीड़िता के खाते में दिए गए और फिर अंतरिम मुआवजे के रूप में 4 लाख तथा उनके ठीक हो जाने के बाद अंतिम मुआवजा 2 लाख रुपए का भुगतान किया गया। साथ ही उन्हें सरकार द्वारा दी जा रही विभिन्न कल्याणकारी योजनाओं से भी जोड़ा गया। सभी अभियुक्तों को सजा हो गई और एक परिवार इस अंधेरे से निकलने में सफल हो गया। अपनी आंखों में एक विवहल सा आभार लिए। आभार झारखंड राज्य विधिक सेवा प्राधिकार।
अभी आपने झरियो देवी के अदम्य साहस की वह कहानी देखी। आप सभी को ये बताते हुए मैं अत्यंत प्रसन्नता है कि और ये गौरव का भी क्षण है कि आज इस सभागार में झरियो देवी स्वयं हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं। सचमुच यह मंच का सौभाग्य है कि हमें ऐसी वीरांगना से साक्षात मिलने का अवसर प्राप्त हुआ है, जिन्होंने परिस्थितियों को परास्त कर जीवन को एक नई दिशा दी है। आप सभी से अनुरोध करूंगी कि जोरदार तालियों से आज झरियो देवी का हौसला जरूर बढ़ाएं। आज इस कार्यक्रम में इन्होंने पधार कर वास्तव में इस कार्यक्रम को सार्थक बनाया है। आप सभी का धन्यवाद।
अब मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगी सुश्री नेहा यादव को, जो जिनके माता की हत्या उनके पिता द्वारा की गई थी, इसीलिए उन्हें विक्टिम कॉम्पनसेशन के रूप में अपने जीवन यापन करने के लिए 5 लाख रुपए का विक्टिम कॉम्पनसेशन डालसा रांची के द्वारा दिया जा रहा है।
अब मैं बुलाना चाहूंगी मंच पर शागुफ्ता परवीन को। शागुफ्ता परवीन को डीएलएसए रांची की ओर से 5 लाख की क्षतिपूर्ति धनराशि दी जा रही है, जिन्होंने एक ट्रैजिक इंसिडेंट में अपने बेटे को खोया है और ये डालसा की ओर से एक छोटा सा प्रयास है।
इसके बाद मैं बसंती लोरेन को बुलाना चाहूंगी, जिन्होंने अपनी बेटी को ट्रैफिकिंग के लिए खो दिया है और उनके सहयोग के लिए डीएलएसए रांची उन्हें 2 लाख रुपए की राशि प्रदान कर रही है।
अब मैं मंच पर अर्सला टिर्की को बुलाना चाहूंगी। इन्हें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप के रूप में लाइवलीहुड को और इम्प्रूव करने के लिए 10,78,000 की राशि दी जा रही है। 10,78,00,000 की राशि दी जा रही है।
इसी तरह से मैं संगीत टिग्गा और ज्योति देवी को मंच पर आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगी, जिन्हें केंद्र और राज्य सरकार के द्वारा सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप चलाने के लिए 1,40,00,000 की राशि प्रदान की जा रही है।
अब मैं मंच पर बुलाना चाहूंगी दामिनी कुमारी को। दामिनी कुमारी को रोड सेफ्टी ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट की ओर से 2 लाख की क्षतिपूर्ति धनराशि दी जाएगी। दामिनी कुमारी कृपया मंच पर आइए। दामिनी कुमारी ने अपनी पति को एक रोड एक्सीडेंट में खो दिया था, जिसलिए आज इनको 2 लाख की क्षतिपूर्ति धनराशि दी जा रही है।
इसी प्रकार से रेणुला देवी रांची की निवासी हैं जिन्होंने भी अपने पति को एक रोड एक्सीडेंट में खो दिया था। उनकी सहायता के लिए डीएलएसए रांची द्वारा 2 लाख रुपए की सहायता राशि दी जा रही है।
अब मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ गीता देवी को। गीता देवी को डिविजनल फॉरेस्ट ऑफिसर रांची की ओर से 1,30,000 की क्षतिपूर्ति धनराशि दी जा रही है। इनके घर को एक हाथियों के झुंड के द्वारा नष्ट कर दिया गया था। इसी क्षतिपूर्ति के लिए आज इनको 1,30,000 रुपए की धनराशि दी जा रही है। अब मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ सरस्वती देवी को। सरस्वती देवी का घर भी हाथियों के एक झुंड के द्वारा नष्ट कर दिया गया था, जिस कारण इन्हें 90,000 रुपए की धनराशि डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फॉरेस्ट के द्वारा दी जा रही है। और अंत में मैं आमंत्रित करती हूँ गुड़िया देवी को। गुड़िया देवी को हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट की ओर से 4,81,356 रुपए की धनराशि दी जा रही है। गुड़िया देवी एक पीड़ित है ब्रेस्ट कैंसर की और इन्हें चिकित्सा रूपी सहायता आज डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ हेल्थ के द्वारा प्रदान की जा रही है। आप सभी से अनुरोध करूंगी कि अपनी तालियों के साथ सभी पीड़िताओं का हौसला अफजाई करें।
हम सभा को सूचित करना चाहते हैं कि और अन्य जो हमारे बेनिफिशियरी हैं उनको भी लाभ पहुंचाया गया है और उनको भी सहायता दी गई है। कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मे आई नाउ humbly request our honorable chief guest, my lord honorable Mr. Justice Vikram Nath, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman NALSA, under whose able guidance all legal services authorities of the nation are being led, to kindly deliver the inaugural address.
जुडिशियल एकेडमी के इस भव्य सभागार में उपस्थित सभी लोगों को मेरा प्रणाम। मेरे छोटे भ्राता और मेरे सहयोगी माननीय श्री जस्टिस अमानुल्लाह साहब, झारखंड उच्च न्यायालय के मुख्य न्यायाधीश श्री महेश सोनक जी, मंच पर आसीन झारखंड उच्च न्यायालय के न्यायमूर्ति और झारखंड स्टेट लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटी के एग्जीक्यूटिव चेयरमैन श्री सुजीत नारायण प्रसाद जी, मंच पर ही आसीन झारखंड राज्य सरकार महिला एवं बाल विकास विभाग के सचिव श्री उमा शंकर जी, झारखंड उच्च न्यायालय के सभी माननीय न्यायमूर्तिगण, झारखंड राज्य सरकार के महाधिवक्ता श्री राजीव रंजन जी, वरिष्ठ अधिवक्तागण, कुछ दिल्ली से आए हैं, कुछ यहाँ पर हैं, अन्य माननीय अधिवक्तागण, सभी रिसोर्स पर्सन्स जो बहुत ही विशिष्ट हैं, आज के इन 3 टेक्निकल सेशंस के लिए आए हुए हैं, वाइस चांसलर नेशनल लॉ यूनिवर्सिटी रांची यहाँ मौजूद हैं, मेंबर सेक्रेटरी झालसा मिस्टर स्थाना, झारखंड राज्य के और सभी विशिष्ट न्यायिक अधिकारीगण, झारखंड राज्य के प्रशासन के सभी अधिकारीगण, पुलिस से और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से जो आए हुए हैं सब लोग, सभी डीएलएसएस के होल टाइम सेक्रेटरीज, लीगल एड डिफेंस काउंसिल्स, पैरा लीगल वॉलंटियर्स, अन्य आए हुए अतिथिगण, ये मेरी पहली विजिट है झारखंड स्टेट की और रांची। मैं पहले कभी नहीं आया यहाँ पर। जब आपके दोनों जुडिशल ऑफिसर्स जो प्रोग्राम कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं उन्होंने हिंदी और अंग्रेजी दोनों में बोलना शुरू किया, तो मैंने सोचा कि मैं भी उसका फ़ायदा उठा लूं और मैं भी आप लोगों से हिंदी अंग्रेजी दोनों में बातचीत करूंगा। थोड़ा कार्यक्रम हमारा विलंब चल रहा है और इतने सारे टचिंग मोमेंट्स यहाँ निकले हैं अभी। जैसे हमारा वेलकम हुआ बाहर, बहुत ही वार्म वेलकम था, और जिस तरह से सब झारखंड के लोगों ने मेरा स्वागत किया, बड़ा अच्छा लगा। पत्ते की टोपी पहनाई, माला पहनाई, टीका कराया। फिर यहाँ पे अभी हमने विक्टिम्स को कॉम्पेंसेशन जो दिए, झरिया देवी की कहानी सुनी। इन्हीं सब बिंदुओं को लेकर के आज हम लोग यहाँ एकत्रित हैं। ये कोलोक्वियम ऑर्गेनाइज किया है झालसार और डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ विमेन एंड चाइल्ड डेवलपमेंट, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ झारखंड ने। मैं सुन रहा था, सब लोग बातें कर रहे थे, मैंने सोचा था झालसा के बारे में मैं कुछ बताऊंगा, तो आपके एग्जीक्यूटिव चेयरमैन ने सब कुछ बता दिया, मेरे लिए कुछ छोड़ा नहीं बताने के लिए। कुछ डेटा हमने इकट्ठा किया था, हम सोचा था कि कुछ हम भी बोलेंगे। आपके मुख्य न्यायाधीश ने बहुत सारी बातें बताई, बहुत गहरी बातें कही उन्होंने, बहुत सरल तरीके से। हमारे छोटे भ्राता जो दिल्ली से आए हैं हमारे साथ, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के न्यायमूर्ति श्री अमानुल्लाह साहब, बहुत पैशनेट और दिल से बात करते हैं और काम करते हैं। उन्होंने भी अपनी दिल की बातें आप लोगों के सामने रखी। तो उन्होंने कुछ निवेदन भी किया है हम लोगों को। हम निवेदन तो नहीं, उसको आदेश मानते हैं उनका। और हम झालसा के एग्जीक्यूटिव चेयरमैन से और मेंबर सेक्रेटरी से ज़रूर निवेदन करेंगे, और प्लस अपने मेंबर सेक्रेटरी दिल्ली में नालसा के, कि जो भी उन्होंने सुझाव दिए हैं उसका हम लोग ज़रूर अनुकरण करें और उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करें। अब थोड़ी देर अंग्रेजी में सुन लीजिए, हिंदी की बात पूरी हो गई। So today we have gathered here at this colloquium to deliberate upon the issue of crimes against women, with a special emphasis on witch hunting, an issue that has particular relevance in the state of Jharkhand. India is a vast and extraordinarily diverse country where each region carries its own history, its own fault lines, and its own forms of injustice, often invisible to those who do not live within them. Conferences of this kind, organized by state legal service authorities around a focused and grounded theme, bring together those who engage with these realities on a daily basis and create a space for honest reflection on what has worked, what has not, where the gaps persist, and what must change. Such candid context sensitive deliberation is not a mere formality, it is the foundation of effective and responsive justice. I am deeply grateful to the Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority and the Department of Women, Child Development and Social Security, Government of Jharkhand, for convening this colloquium to bring together judges, administrators, advocates, and civil society around a cause that requires an urgent attention. Articles 14, 15, and 21 of the Constitution of India guarantee every citizen equality before the law, freedom from discrimination, and the right to life with dignity. And yet, the lived reality of women across India, across geographies, classes, castes, and communities, continues to reveal a profound distance between that constitutional promise and its actual fulfillment. Crime against women today are symptoms of a deeper structural reality in which the subordination of women has been so normalized for so long that violence against them is treated in too many quarters as unremarkable and as something to be managed rather than eliminated. What compounds this is the vast gap between the commission of these crimes and their reporting. Fear of stigma, economic dependence on the perpetrator, distrust of institutions, and the weight of social pressure conspire to keep the true scale of violence against women invisible. This is the challenge that confronts not just law enforcement, but every institution represented in this room. Legislative reforms over the past 2 decades have strengthened protections, but the true measure of a justice system is not the quality of its laws. It is whether those laws reach the woman who needs them in the place where she lives and at the moment she is most vulnerable. By that measure, there is much that remains undone. Within this broader territory, witch hunting occupies a category of its own. It is not merely a regional anomaly or a law and order problem, but one of the most visceral, dehumanizing expressions of gender violence that persists. In Jharkhand, this issue has been particularly persistent. Crimes against women do not present themselves identically across every part of this country. They take the shape of the society that produces them. In Jharkhand, that shape is witch hunting, and it must be named, understood, and confronted directly. On a surface level, witch hunting presents itself as a matter of belief that illness, death, failed crops, or misfortune are caused not by nature or circumstance, but by a woman in the neighborhood who has cast a spell. But to accept that framing is to misunderstand the practice entirely. Witch hunting is not, at its root, about belief. It is about social hierarchy, about power, and about patriarchy. The women who are branded as witches are not random. They are women who are vulnerable or who have refused in some way to remain subordinate. The label of Diane is the instrument by which such women are silenced, dispossessed, and destroyed. What makes witch hunting so resistant to intervention is the depth at which it is embedded. It is not merely an individual belief, rather exists in community structures, in social hierarchies, and in the silence of those who witness it and say nothing. The branding of a woman as a witch is rarely a spontaneous act. It is a social process that involves accusation, community sanction, and collective violence, sometimes over days. It is this collective character that makes it so difficult to prosecute, since witnesses are embedded in the same community as perpetrators, and the pressure to maintain silence is immense. Jharkhand enacted the Prevention of Witch Dine Practices Act 2001, which was recognition that this demanded state intervention. And though we must acknowledge that, acknowledgement in itself is not action. Prosecutions remain rare. Convictions are rarer still. What is needed alongside enforcement is sustained investment in education that reaches tribal girls and keeps them in school, healthcare that is present and functional in the communities that need it most, and law enforcement that is trained to respond to a witch hunting complaint not with skepticism but with urgency and sensitivity. The eradication of witch hunting requires the state to be genuinely present, not only in its punitive capacity, but in its nurturing one. This brings me to the second theme of today's colloquium, the role of legal services institutions in providing relief and rehabilitation to victims of crime. It is a theme that is inextricable and the institutional answer to everything I have just said. We have for too long measured justice by what happens to the offender, including his arrest, his trial, and his conviction. These are necessary, but they are not the entirety of justice. They are its beginning. What our system has too often left us behind in its focus on the accused is the survivor herself, her shelter, her health, her livelihood, her path back to a life that the crime sought to destroy. True holistic justice is not delivered the day the verdict is pronounced. It is delivered the day the survivor no longer needs the state's support to stand on her own feet. Until we internalize that understanding, until we treat rehabilitation not as a follow up to justice, but as its very purpose, we will continue to build systems that punish offenders while abandoning survivors. That shift in perspective from justice as an event to justice as a process is what legal services institutions exist to bring about. No other organ of our justice system carries that specific mandate to walk beside the survivor not only through the legal proceedings but through everything that follows. And it is a mandate that must be discharged not on paper but in practice, in the field, and in the lives of the women who need it most. Nalsa and Jhalsa must therefore think of themselves not as mere providers of legal aid but as architects of rehabilitation. Paralegal volunteers must be present in the villages where these crimes occur as trusted, accessible points of contact. Legal aid clinics must reach the panchayat level. Lok adalats must serve not only as platforms for dispute resolution but for awareness, where communities learn in their own language and on their own ground what the law says and what protection it offers. And victim compensation schemes must be actively administered, not passively made available. A woman who does not know what compensation exists will never claim it. The obligation to reach her rests with us. Rehabilitation must not exist as an afterthought, it is the destination. Let me close with this. The women we speak of today are citizens of this republic, entitled to every protection this constitution guarantees. Justice for women will not arrive through any single law or judgment. It will arrive when every institution represented in this room decides, in concert and without excuse, that no woman shall be left outside the reach of the law. That is a long road, but it begins here, in conversation like this one, when those who have the power to act choose to do so with honesty, coordination, and resolve. With these words, I conclude and I extend my sincere best wishes for the success of this colloquium. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद माय लॉर्ड। आपकी गरिमामयी उपस्थिति हमारे झारखंड राज्य में हमारे लिए प्रेरणा का स्रोत है। थैंक यू वंस अगेन माय लॉर्ड फॉर योर थॉट प्रोवोकिंग इनॉग्रल एड्रेस। With this, I would now like to request Shri Uma Shankar Singh, Secretary, Department of Women, Child Development and Social Security, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
As we come to the close of this deeply meaningful and enriching colloquium, it is my privilege and honor to propose the vote of thanks. At the very outset, I express my deepest sense of gratitude to Honorable Mr. Justice Vikram Nath, Judge Supreme Court of India, and Executive Chairman Nalsa for his insightful inaugural address, which provided clarity, constitutional perspective, and direction for collective action. Sincere appreciation is also extended to Honorable Justice Asunuddin Amanullah for his esteemed presence and contribution to jurisprudence, reinforcing confidence in the judicial system. I express my deepest gratitude to the Honorable Chief Justice of the High Court of Jharkhand for visionary leadership that has strengthened accessibility, efficiency, and public trust in the justice delivery system. Special appreciation is also expressed for Honorable Justice Sujit Narayan Prasad for his dedicated leadership in expanding the reach of legal services and ensuring justice reaches the grassroots level. The presence and continued support of all honorable judges of the High Court are acknowledged for enhancing the dignity of the event and furthering the cause of justice. I also acknowledge the valuable contribution of resource persons whose deliberation enriched the discussion and added depth to this event. My sincere thanks to the Jharkhand State Legal Service Authority for their meticulous planning and successful organization of the program. I appreciate the active participation of attendees and recognize the efforts of all individuals who worked behind the scene to ensure the event success. With these words, I once again express my sincere gratitude to all. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now we would like to apprise you that due to paucity of time and upon the direction of the honorable dignitaries, we will directly be proceeding towards our first technical session after this inaugural session. So I would like to request you all to kindly remain seated on your seats. अब मैं आप सभी से आग्रह करना चाहूंगी, कृपया अपने अपने स्थान पर राष्ट्रगान के लिए खड़े हो जाएं।
भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे